Well, some breaking news at home now, and in a statement released a few minutes ago by Buckingham Palace,
King Charles and Prince William made a rare joint appearance at a climate summit in London recently, but it's not their united front that's making headlines.
After Andrew and Camilla Parker Bowles went their separate ways and got divorced, she would go on to become a major player in the royal family. But before any of that happened, Andrew also got pretty familiar with royalty.
Breaking news from England has shaken the entire world. Reliable sources from inside the royal household confirm that King Charles is now in the advanced stages of metastatic cancer.
We've received breaking news from Buckingham Palace, which has announced that the King has been diagnosed with cancer,
throwing the monarchy into a full-blown crisis. But this isn't only about the King's illness. Beneath the surface, something far darker is unfolding, a secret plot that could tear the royal family apart. Reports suggest that Queen Camilla has been secretly leading a covert campaign against Prince William, aiming to damage his reputation and weaken his claim to the throne. Hidden recordings, said to be provided by Andrew Parker Bowles, Camilla's ex-husband, have sent shockwaves through Buckingham Palace. In response, the Royal Council held an emergency midnight meeting, attended by King Charles, Prince William, and senior advisors to go through the evidence and decide what to do next. Shadows over the palace. Starting with, outside the palace walls, tension filled the London air. The city stood still, as if waiting for history to make its next move. Everyone was asking the same questions. What would happen to Queen Camilla now? And how would Prince William, betrayed yet determined, face the woman who had once called herself his stepmother? The gray London skies mirrored the kingdom's mood, heavy, cold, and full of uncertainty. When news leaked that the king's cancer had spread, it felt like a national heartbreak. People had known he was in treatment.
Buckingham Palace has said King Charles spent a short period of time in hospital today after experiencing the temporary side effects of his cancer treatment.
But no one expected his condition to worsen so quickly. It hit like a sharp blow, cutting through what little hope remained. With the king's strength fading, Prince William had quietly stepped into his father's role, managing state duties with calm authority. He attended ceremonies at Westminster Abbey, met government officials at Downing Street, and visited struggling communities across the country. His steady voice and composed demeanor gave the nation comfort. People saw in him the image of a future king, one ready to carry the crown. But behind that calm face, William was suffering. Every night after finishing his royal duties, he would sit by his window at Kensington Palace, staring into the dark gardens. His thoughts were heavy with fear for his father. "How do I hold everything together?" he whispered to himself. And then, wiping away his tears, he would return to work, because he had no choice. While the nation prayed for the king, a storm was building inside Buckingham Palace. The hallways that once echoed with laughter now felt haunted and cold. Camilla, who had always sat beside the king during public events, was now confined to the western wing of the palace, waiting for the council's decision. Evidence, witnesses, and secret recordings had all exposed her plan to discredit William. The palace tried to keep everything secret, but whispers spread quickly. "She's gone too far," people murmured in kitchens and corridors. Even the guards avoided meeting her eyes. Outside her room, 2 soldiers stood silently, their uniforms bright against the dim light. Inside, Camilla sat alone, disheveled and sleepless, staring at an old photo of her and Charles. Her lips trembled as she whispered, "I only wanted to hold on to what's mine." How did it come to this? Tears rolled down her face, not just from guilt, but from fear of losing everything. Camilla had spent years climbing to the top, fighting scandal after scandal, proving her place in the monarchy.
Andrew Parker Bowles and Camilla's controversial marriage came to an end after they got divorced in 1995. As previously mentioned, Camilla had reportedly been having an affair with her now husband, King Charles.
Now, all of it seemed to be slipping through her fingers. She felt trapped. like a lioness caught in her own snare. Her quiet sobs blended with the wind howling outside, painting a picture of downfall and regret, the confession and the spy. Far from London, Andrew Parker Bowles sat by a window, watching the fog settle over the old rooftops. Once Camilla's husband, now just a man carrying heavy memories, he stared at a small tape recorder on his desk, the one that had captured her words and exposed her plan. He didn't feel joy or satisfaction, only sadness. "I once loved her," he murmured, "but power turned her into someone I no longer recognize." He took a slow sip of whiskey, thinking back to their marriage, the glamorous events, the quiet fights, the growing distance. He knew he had done the right thing, but it still hurt. Back at the palace, officials worked late into the night drafting documents for Camilla's hearing. Every page carried the weight of royal history, and every word marked the fall of a queen. But what had driven Camilla to this point? A week earlier, in the peaceful stillness of St. George's Chapel in Windsor, something extraordinary had happened. Andrew had gone there for a memorial service for an old friend. As the bells tolled and people began to leave, he lingered alone among the pews. And then he heard it. A voice from a nearby confessional booth. It was Camilla. Her tone was trembling but sharp, her words filled with both fear and bitterness. "Father, I have sinned," she said softly. "The king is growing weaker every day. And William, he's waiting. Once Charles is gone, they'll take everything from me, the title, the throne, even my dignity. I can't let that happen." Her words were not those of confession, but calculation. She wasn't asking for forgiveness. She was laying out her plan. Andrew froze, hiding behind a stone pillar. He knew her voice too well. He remembered how she used to charm people while secretly manipulating them. The Camilla he had loved was gone. What remained was a woman consumed by fear of losing power. He left the chapel shaken, the cold wind biting his face. "William again, Camilla," he whispered under his breath. That night, unable to sleep, he made a decision. He would find out the truth, even if it meant betraying his past. Through an old contact in security, Andrew arranged for a small, hidden camera to be placed inside Camilla's car. He knew it was risky, but it was the only way to expose her. For him, this was no longer about revenge. It was about protecting the monarchy itself. Meanwhile, at Clarence's house, Camilla was planning her next move. She sat in her private room, curtains drawn, holding a glass of red wine. "I won't lose everything," she muttered. Years of struggle, countless scandals, all of it would be for nothing if she let William take control.
A long time ago, it's now being reported that Prince William has been the one really calling the shots in the royal family, including this big decision to really ostracize Prince Andrew.
She picked up the phone and called her son, Tom Parker Bowles. "I need you to introduce me to two of your friends, journalists, as soon as possible." 2 days later, Camilla met those journalists at a quiet cafe in Chelsea. The place smelled of coffee and jazz music played softly in the background. Across the table sat James, an older journalist with sharp eyes, and Sophia, a young and ambitious reporter connected through Tom. Camilla leaned in, her voice low but firm. "You'll be joining Prince William and the Princess of Wales on their upcoming trip to Northern Ireland," she said. "But you won't be covering agriculture. You'll be covering something more personal." James frowned. "What kind of story are you looking for?" Camilla smiled faintly. "A human story. A moment where a tired prince shows weakness, and a kind woman shows understanding." Her words hung in the air like poison. She turned to Sophia. "You'll need to stay close to him. A touch of the hand, a smile, just enough to spark rumors. Don't make it obvious. Let people imagine the rest." Then she looked at James. "Capture the moment. One photo can change everything." The journalists hesitated, realizing the danger. But when Camilla slid a thick envelope across the table, full of money, temptation outweighed fear. "You're not lying," she said calmly. "You're just giving the public what they already want to believe." She stood up, brushing her coat. "Act as if we never met." Camilla walked out of the cafe feeling confident, convinced she had secured her power. But what she didn't know was that Andrew's hidden camera had recorded every word. The conversation, the plan, even the rustle of money, all captured perfectly. From a nearby car, Andrew watched the screen, his expression grim. "You've gone too far this time, Camilla," he muttered. That moment marked the beginning of her downfall. Andrew quickly sent the recording to Prince William through a trusted advisor, Sir Edward, an elderly man who had served the royals for decades. When William listened to the recording, his face turned pale. His voice trembled with anger. "She wants to destroy my image while my father is dying," he said. Catherine found him pacing the room and gently placed a hand on his shoulder. "You'll get through this," she whispered. But William didn't react publicly. Instead, he stayed silent and watched. He wanted to see what Camilla would do next. A few days later, the two journalists tried to join his Northern Ireland trip, pretending it was for official coverage. William immediately recognized their names and quietly declined. "We don't need rumor hunters," he told his advisor. When the news reached Camilla, she was furious. She threw a glass against the wall. "That boy is turning the tables on me," she shouted. Her anger wasn't just at William. It was at the fear of losing her grip on everything. In desperation, she decided to go further. She contacted the royal doctor, a man who had worked for Charles for years and owed her favors. In a quiet room of the palace's medical wing, she offered him a deal. "You'll confirm that William is under mental stress. Not too strong, just enough to raise questions." She slid another envelope toward him. The doctor hesitated, sweat forming on his forehead. Finally, he nodded. "I'll do it, ma'am." Within days, a forged medical report appeared, stating that Prince William was struggling with psychological stress.
I didn't know anything about mental health. I really didn't. And I immersed myself in this topic because we realized and identified that this was a key social problem.
Camilla smiled as she read it, confident she had finally found a way to ruin him. But she didn't know that this final act would seal her fate. The fall of the Queen. 3 days after the fake report quietly spread through back channels, the story exploded across Britain like wildfire. Early that foggy morning, Londoners lining up at newsstands saw bold headlines shouting from every front page, "Prince William shows signs of mental instability. Palace declines to comment on heir's health. Is William fit to be king?" Major broadcasters jumped in immediately. BBC and Sky News ran endless discussions, looping clips of William looking tired at public events, his brief pauses during speeches, a moment when he rubbed his temples, even when he blinked under the camera flashes. Commentators spoke gravely, dissecting his gestures, saying things like, "These are early signs of exhaustion, perhaps even emotional strain." Across the country, people talked. In cafes, on trains, in offices, everyone whispered about the prince's supposed breakdown. And right on cue, Camilla appeared in public. She attended a small charity event in London, where dozens of journalists were waiting. Dressed in black, she stepped out of her Rolls-Royce as cameras flashed. A reporter shouted, "Your Majesty, do you know anything about the prince's condition?" Camilla lowered her eyes and sighed softly. "All I know is that Charles is very worried. William works too hard. We just hope he gets some rest." Her words seemed harmless, even caring. But within hours, her short statement was everywhere. Headlines, talk shows, social media. Camilla expresses concern for troubled prince. She had played her part perfectly, acting like a worried stepmother, while secretly celebrating her success. But inside the palace, the truth was starting to surface. Sir Edward, William's trusted advisor, examined the leaked report carefully. He noticed something off about the doctor's signature. The handwriting was uneven, the ink smudged, not matching official medical records. He looked closer and felt a chill run down his spine. "This was forged," he whispered. Without wasting time, he alerted the Royal Council. "Gentlemen, this isn't an accident," he said. "It's a deliberate setup." The council immediately summoned the royal doctor for questioning. In a large, dimly lit room lined with portraits of past kings, the doctor sat trembling before the members. His hands shook as he tried to defend himself. First, he claimed it was a mistake, then that he didn't remember. But after a few sharp questions, "Who paid you? When was this written?" he broke down completely. Tears streamed down his face. "It was Queen Camilla," he confessed. "She offered me money. She promised to protect my career." The room fell silent. Every member understood the weight of that confession. The rumors weren't a coincidence. They were the result of a carefully planned attack by the Queen herself. Outside, the media storm continued. But inside the palace, a much bigger battle was being fought, one that would decide the monarchy's future. The turning point. As the rumors spread, Prince William knew he couldn't stay silent anymore. Keeping quiet would only make things worse. So early the next morning, he decided to face the press outside Kensington Palace. Under the gray sky, reporters stood ready with their cameras. William walked out calmly, his face steady. "I am in full health," he said firmly. "I continue to serve this country with all my strength. To clear any doubts, I've asked for an independent medical check, and the results will be made public." His short statement was clear and confident. By that evening, doctors released their report. William was completely fine, just tired from work. The news spread fast, turning public opinion in his favor. Hashtags supporting him flooded social media, and people who had doubted him now backed him fully. Inside Buckingham Palace, tension filled the air. The Royal Council met again, this time calling Andrew Parker Bowles as a witness. The doctor had already exposed Queen Camilla's name behind the fake report, but Andrew had something stronger, a recording made at a cafe. In a small room, only a few people sat around the table. William, his advisors, council members, and Andrew. Without saying much, Andrew placed a small device on the table and pressed play. Camilla's voice filled the room. It was calm but cold. "You will touch his hand naturally. Capture the moment. Make sure it looks real." No one spoke. The words said it all. Her plan to fake a scandal. When the recording ended, silence hung in the air, broken only by the rain tapping against the window. Andrew finally said quietly, "I didn't record her confession, but I heard her later at St. George's Chapel. She said she feared losing her position. When she's scared, she attacks first." William nodded, his face calm but heavy. "She's done enough damage. To my father, to me, to the crown. This can't be ignored," he said. That night, the Royal Council reached their decision. Queen Camilla would be held accountable. It was a rare step, something that had happened only a few times in royal history. A formal hearing was arranged with the king, the heir, and the council elders. Outside, rain poured as Camilla's car entered the palace gates. When she stepped out, her coat was wet, her face pale. She tried to keep her composure, but fear showed in her eyes. Inside the grand hall, portraits of old kings and queens lined the walls. King Charles sat weakly in his chair, his voice trembling. "Camilla," he said softly, "I once believed you would never harm this family. I was wrong." He coughed, reaching for water, his hand shaking. Camilla lowered her head as tears rolled down. No one could tell if it was guilt or fear. Memories of her years with Charles came back, their laughter, their journey together. And now, everything was collapsing. The council read the verdict. Camilla was suspended from all royal duties. Her privileges and funds were revoked, and she was ordered to leave Buckingham Palace and stay in a separate residence while an investigation began. Each word felt heavy. Camilla stood frozen, gripping her gloves. Her thoughts raced. Anger toward William, regret over her choices, and sorrow for Charles. As guards opened the door, she glanced at Andrew. He looked at her sadly and said, "I did what I had to do." Camilla took a slow breath and walked out into the rain. Her figure disappeared under the dim lights, a queen leaving not just her crown, but everything she had built. The aftermath. The next morning, London woke up to clear skies. Newspapers carried the headline, "Queen Camilla removed from duties, Prince William vindicated." Reactions were mixed, some shocked, some sympathetic, most relieved. The monarchy had survived another storm, but not without scars. Inside the palace, King Charles sat by the window, his voice weak but steady. "Keep going, William. Protect what truly matters, this family's honor." William held his father's hand. "I will, father. For you, for the crown, and for the people," he said. It was a quiet moment, but it felt like a passing of the torch. Outside the palace, people gathered near the gates. Some left flowers, others stood silently, thinking about what the royal family had gone through. It wasn't just royal drama anymore. It was a story about power, fear, and loyalty. Andrew Parker Bowles returned home, sitting by his window as the fog lifted. He looked tired, but at peace. He had done what he believed was right, not for revenge, but for the truth. Meanwhile, Camilla's car drove through quiet streets toward her new home. She stared out the window, watching the raindrops slide down the glass. Her reflection looked distant. A woman who once had everything, now left with nothing but memories. Maybe she thought about where things went wrong. Maybe she thought about Charles. No one would ever know. At Buckingham Palace, Prince William stood by his study window, looking out at the bright morning sky. The scandal was over, but the lesson would stay. Even the grandest walls can't keep out shadows. He took a deep breath and said softly, "For my father, for the people, I'll make it right." The storm had passed, but the truth remained. It wasn't just about losing power. It was about learning how fragile trust can be, even among family. The monarchy had survived, quieter, wiser, and stronger. And as the sun broke through over London, one question still lingered. How far would you go to protect what you love?